Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dave Year with planning staff. This is a request to reduce the required off-street parking on the property that's located at 502 East 33rd Street. As you can see from the zoning map, we are in heavy industrial zoning, or GI, general industrial is classified virtually all the way around the property. We're east of Broadway, a couple, 3 blocks, essentially between Emporia and St. Francis Street. The aerial photo of the property, and you can see the large elevator that's immediately to the south. The building on the site used to be a carpet warehouse facility, has now been acquired by an individual that is in the process of trying to convert that to a private museum for military tanks, as you'll be able to see from the photos. There are some up there. If you've been by, you will notice that they're there. This is actually the property looking north along Emporia, which would be the west side of the property, and there's actually a tank out on the site. There's also some facilities of that nature on the south side of the property. Most of the parking proposed is on this south side. There were questions that are noted in the staff report as to whether or not the actual parking spaces were on the property, because this is unplatted land, and we were unsure from the site plan submitted whether or not there was the parking spaces were on private property or were in the right of way. The agent for the applicant, who is here, notified us today that a survey just completed has confirmed that all the spaces shown on the site plan are on private property. So these will all be spaces that are identified and available for parking. As you can see, they're showing 6 along the south side of the building to the west end of the building. There is also 2 spaces at the list location, and then one they're calling kind of a universal accessible parallel parking space along the south side of the building. The rest of the photos, just to show the rest of the property, that is looking north along St. Francis. This is looking along 33rd Street. You can see the elevator to the south, and that's the north side of the property, which obviously there's not available anything on the north side because the railroad tracks are through that location. So, and then there it is, also looking further to the east. Staff is recommending approval, subject to verification with revised site plans, confirming all that information. And as I said, I was told by the agent today that that's now will be verified and put on the record. The only other concern is that this is in the North Industrial Corridor environmental area that the city is maintaining under an agreement with EPA. And they've been notified that they will need to work with the environmental section with Public Works to keep track and record everything that's going on in that area. So beyond that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Florence.
Is there any ADA requirements as far as parking?
Well, yeah, they will be required to comply with an ADA, and I believe that's what that universal site location will be. Well, it's actually in this area, and it's identified as an accessible parallel parking spot. But the number of the spaces will be determined through the building code when they go through code requirements.
Other questions on the commission? Mr. Foster.
Dave, if you'll walk us through the parking, this is such a large change from 68. I just want to make sure to understand it fully. And now we're down to, is 11 the number?
9. You've got 9 that are shown here. Part of the issue that they've got is that under as outlined in the staff report, the number of spaces required is based on the square footage of the building. And that's really kind of gathered by, I presume, it's an old standard within the parking requirements, but as it talked about, as we noted in the staff report, the current standard of the zoning code, and I had that in there. Well, the result being it based on the size of the building, it does turn the number required by the zoning code to that larger number. There was a previous variance granted on the property for the warehouse that reduced that number back in that time. And they're simply just asking to reaffirm that for the change in use. Because the former variance was only applicable as long as it remained a carpet warehouse.
Question I'll have for the agent or applicant relates to, let's say this does become popular and they decide there's an event to be held. Do they have
Well,
to
they've
do this?
indicated that they would provide shuttle service from another location. Now, they did not identify where that other parking place would be. You'll have to ask the agent whether they got in mind on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Richardson.
Dave, and the information says we're requesting 3 parking places. You're saying 9. What?
That was probably a typo on our request. I had misread the initial application submittal as that they were requesting it down to 3, and should have been 9.
Could have been 9. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Dave. If agent or applicant would step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Brian Lindeback, MKC Engineering, on behalf of the owner and applicant. Our address is 411 North Webb Road. We are in agreement with staff comments. I think it was everything we've discussed has been well put, so stand for any questions.
Questions from the commission?
A question.
Yes, Mr. Hartman.
Is the applicant going to be using the entire building for the museum?
Yes, he has a substantial collection of military equipment. It's housed at various locations, and he's consolidating and going to have everything inside the building. May have one on the outside to display, but yeah, this is a military museum, heavy equipment. It's actually a great location. One might think it's in a bad location because it's not very accessible, maybe from the general public, but with all the heavy equipment and heavy industrial, I think this is well suited for this use. And of course, it's a large building that's being unutilized at this point, so it should be a real asset to the community.
Thank you.
Mr. Foster?
Could you address the question, please, about event parking?
Yeah, I think the plan is to have very low volume attendance. Obviously, we've got a limited number of parking spaces. If there is a larger event, they'll bring in, shuttle people in from outside, whether it be they pick them up from their from wherever they're from, or possibly they even use the busing service. Rent a city bus to have people brought in. So at this point in time, it's more on a on-demand and event basis. But there won't be sufficient parking here for a large event, and that's understood. And we. At this time, we don't anticipate large events here.
Other questions from the
One
commission?
other question.
Yes, Mr. Hartman.
Will they be charging admission?
I don't know that at this point. The project manager is here today. He can answer maybe that question. If there's any other specific questions like that, maybe we can grab him and have him come up here.
Would you like to bring him up, Mr. Hartman?
Sure. This is Jamie Ballman. He is the project manager.
Jamie Ballman, address? Yeah. 306 South Exposition Street, 67213. As far as admission, we're still getting through the details. Like he said, it's a massive collection that most of the past year I've just been getting things organized. Everything's nonprofit. We believe we're going to be charging admission and probably similar rates to, I believe there's one in South Carolina. That's another large tank museum. It is a very impressive collection as far as that goes. So I think some people will get excited about it, but we plan on doing by appointment only. And maybe on the weekends, we can be open more without any traffic being through there, but that's going to be based entirely on the parking and whether or not it's causing any burdens on the people around us. So
I mean, these are large objects, so what square footage do you think is actually going to be available after you place all these tanks in that location?
do you have the image of the tanks being placed in?
I don't have, he's asking me if we have an image of the tanks being placed. There are tanks outside right now. They're in the process of, updating the building and,
They'll probably take up more than
Really
50%.
just a path that would walk through the building to see the tanks, give the tour, and that's, it's aisles all the way through
Yeah.
as far as, but plenty of room as far as that goes.
But these are items that are going to take up a substantial amount of floor space.
Correct.
Yeah.
Most of the building is taken up by tanks.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Being none, we will bring it back to the commission for action.
Madam Chair, I would like to also note for the record, within the material laid in front of your desk is a couple of memos. One of them is from the Midtown Homeowners Association. Within that letter, they made reference to this case and noted that they are supportive of the requested variance for this case.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Mr. Richardson.
Move to approve, subject to revising staff report to 9 spaces.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Richardson, a second by Mr. Blick. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 12-0. And with that, BZA is adjourned. All right, we will move on to the public hearing sections. We have item number 3.1, VAC 2019-00024. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We will take that item on consent. Item number 3.2, VAC 2019-00025. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We'll take that item on consent. Item number 3.3, VAC 2019-00026. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We will take this item on consent. Item number 3.4, VAC 2019-00027. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we will take this item on consent. Item number 3.5, VAC 2019-00028. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
Move we approve 1 through 5. Vacation item.
I have a motion by Mr. McKay to approve items 1 through 5.
Second.
Second by Mr. Richardson.
I second it.
I had a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 12-0. Okay, moving on to section number 4. We have 4.1. And
You have to hear that.
yeah, we have to hear 4.1, and I am going to take the liberty of moving 4.1 to the end of the agenda because I think there's a lot of people here to speak on that case, and I know we have a lot of discussion around that one. Agenda item number 42, CO 19-00026. Is there anybody on the commission that'd like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody on the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will take that item on consent. Item number 43, ZON 2019-00029 with CON 2019-00027. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We'll take that item on consent. Item number 44, ZON 2019-00030 with CON 2019-00028. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing, oh, Dave?
I'll be abstaining from that.
You'll be
item.
abstaining. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we will take that item on consent. Agenda item number 45, ZON 2019-00031. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Mr. Foster, you want to hear this case? We will hear this case. Okay,
I move for approval of items 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4.
Second.
okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Hartman, a second by Mr. Green. All in favor say hi. Hi. Aye. I'm on a roll. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 11-0-1. All right, so we are going to, we have an agenda item number 5, which is a non-public hearing item. So we are going to move on to 4-5 ZON 2019-00031. It looks like we have Kathy coming up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Oh, thank you. This is a request from limited commercial to general commercial. It is along the 13th Street corridor. You have limited industrial to the east, and then the Broadway Avenue corridor that's limited commercial. And here's the aerial. This was a car wash. It's been vacant for a couple of years. There's been issues with tagging and graffiti and things like that on the site. So it is a little bit of a blight to the neighborhood. And as you can see, it's in the community investments plan area of the established central area, and it's intended for development. Here's a preliminary site plan, 13th Street. This is the existing car wash structure that's going to be renovated into storage units. You'll see on the site plan, this vegetation, that's actually the sidewalk. And the Public Works now has a policy that they do not allow landscaping in that public right-of-way. And so that landscaping that's going to be required is actually going to take up these 2 storage units here along the sidewalk. So I just wanted to point this out, and by no means, this is just a preliminary site plan. So this is a proposed elevation, and it's only showing, these are the 4 car wash bays, and then there's a new addition on the east end of that site. Oops, sorry. This is looking north from 13th Street along the alley. As you can see, there's an existing 6-foot wood privacy fence. This is looking back to the northeast along the existing building. Back to the northwest, this is an apartment building on the west side of Emporia. This is from the back part of the property looking southeast toward 13th Street. Of course, these vacuum stations and whatever will be taken out. This is across the street, looking southwest. This is the Topeka Emporia Historic District right here. This is not in the district, this newer building. And this is looking west from the alley on the east side of the street. So this has been to District 6 Advisory Board, and although they did not have a quorum, they did make a recommendation that the staff report and the protective overlay, as you could see in your staff report, we did add a protective overlay to limit the GC uses to only the outdoor storage and the construction, sales and service. They wanted to make sure it was clear that there would be any outdoor storage would not be stacked higher than the height of the screening fence around the property. So with that addition to the protective overlay, they recommended approval of the staff report and the protective overlay number 342. And I'll answer any questions.
Okay, questions from the commission. Mr. Foster?
Kathy, this letter that we received today, the Historic Midtown group, did that come in, I assume, later?
I got that email this morning at 8:30. It was turned into Council Member Claycomb, and she copied it and passed it along to me.
Okay, had a chance to review it?
I did. We looked at the Midtown Neighborhood Plan, and that corridor, let me go back to the zoning map. So this corridor, you already have general commercial here, and on the northeast corner of St. Francis. This, although is zoned TF3, there's been some converted uses on there, and so there may be one or two of those properties that are actually used for residential, but they have changed to uses that are allowed in TF3 but are not residential. As you can see, because here was the property, this zoning right here had an office on it. This lot had an office on it right here. So there is residential to the south and to the north of the apartments. The gray is B multifamily, or brown, I guess that is, brown, B multifamily. So this is in compliance with what the Midtown Neighborhood Plan recommends for that area.
Foster?
What's got me confused here is the final sentences, as such, we request that you do not approve the request to change zonage. And that's in this letter here from Historic Midtown. Second question, I'm curious about the nature of the historic character of the apartments to the west.
That apartment building, the reason that is historic or listed in the state and national registers is because it was built by a local contractor. It was at a time when apartment buildings, purpose-built apartment buildings, distinguished from large houses that were cut up into apartment buildings. That was a national trend of building purpose-built apartment units with indoor plumbing for each unit as opposed to a tenement building. And so we have several of these types of purpose-built apartments in Wichita that are listed in the state and national register.
Hear you.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Agent or applicant, would you like to step forward? If you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 10 minutes.
I don't know if you want to go to any of those.
Kirk Miller, K. Miller Engineering, 117 East Louis. We're okay with the staff comments.
Okay.
Be glad to answer any questions or
Any
try to.
questions from the commission?
Yes.
Mr. Hartman?
You're okay with removing those storage buildings for the landscape area?
Yeah,
Mr. Richardson?
Kirk, also limiting the height to the screening.
yes.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Yes, please. If you'll step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Lois Snyder. I live at 1423 North Emporia. So just across the street from the proposed area conversion of the car wash. Recently, this body, the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, instituted a community investments plan that focuses on the neighborhoods surrounding downtown with the intentions of reversing patterns of abandonment and decline, but also wanting strategic value-added investment decisions. And to me, this does not strike me as being, having a whole bunch of construction materials and shipping containers stacked around a property doesn't strike me as being the best and most strategic investment for reversing decline in our neighborhood. Obviously, the car wash is in a state of decline. We obviously admit that. We've lived in the same house on this block for over 39 years, and we've also purchased other empty lots in the area to try to prevent their decline. We are concerned with the appearance of the potential appearance of the property, the space that would be available for graffiti. The sides of shipping containers strike me as being a really strong target for this kind of tagging and such. And it doesn't feel like it would add to the historic character of our neighborhood or to the community feel of the neighborhood. In addition, the current owner has not been extremely responsive to removing graffiti or to doing basic maintenance on the property in the time that he has owned it. If you would go there, as of this morning, there was Johnson grass 32 inches high in the easement of his property. There were weeds beside the alley that were 3 feet tall. Johnson grass is a noxious weed that is supposed to be mowed at least every 14 days. And we would really like, they have, I guess, some of our requests would be that we would get a new site plan before making a decision on this property. If they change the zoning, that it would be with a reversion to LC zoning if the property is ever sold. We would request an installation of an automatic sprinkler system to water the landscaping. And, but really, shipping containers, because they're with a 15-foot setback from the sidewalk.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay.
Is there any questions from the commission? Mr. Blick? Oh, you didn't have a question. Any other questions from the commission? Nope. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay, we'll bring agent or applicant up for rebuttal. 2 minutes.
This will be a shipping container development like some of the other ones that are popping up right now, like the Revolution and that type of thing. It's not They're not going to just throw a bunch of containers out there and walk away. It'll be a real development.
Questions? Mr. Warren?
Or just, would you speak to the concern about maintenance, taking care of it? Graffiti and mowing and that type of thing? What's the plan? What's the assurance that the neighbors can have that it's going to be taken care of better than it has in the past?
Blake, would you like to?
Hi everyone, my name is Blake Schleier. I live at 658 South Broadview, Wichita, Kansas. I'm co-owner of the car wash. I own a small remodeling company here in town, and my office will actually be located out of this car wash. If we could go back to the rendering of what the car wash will look like. Sorry. Wrong
Going
way.
the wrong way.
I'm new at this.
Let's see where we are at.
So we recently purchased this car wash, June of this year.
Yeah, one more. Scott, can you help me out? I don't have the, oh, there we go. There you go.
So as you can see, each office, the shipping containers will be served as an office for a smaller contractor, and then they'll have a garage door to put vehicles and material in, and then behind that garage door will actually be the outdoor storage for them to park a trailer if they need to. One of the big reassurance that we have to make sure that this place stays clean is that it will be an actual office building for other contractors and a contractor like myself. So taking pride in the actual building that you're renting out. We're also going to have a strict lease that details how to maintain the outside storage of their lot and what the appearance on the front of the lot will look like.
Other questions from the commission? Mr. Blick?
Question I have is just I know that the other shipping container is on gravel, and are you doing the same thing, or are you putting it on concrete, all the shipping containers? I mean, there's existing, but I know that you
So this whole site is a concrete site, so all of the shipping containers will be set on concrete.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will bring it back to the commission for action.
Move to approve for staff comments.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bill Johnson, a second by Mr. Warren, a question by Mr. Foster.
This is on condition 2 in the staff report. I think it's a typo here. It refers to a 10-foot landscape buffer along the line setback. Can we have that clarified, what that's referencing?
Yes, that should be the property line. As I said before, this is the sidewalk, the back of the sidewalk here, and so the 10-foot buffer is here. Let's see. On number 2. Oh, I'm sorry. That's along the rear, because this is residential to the north, so that 10-foot buffer is here, and as well as there's landscaping required on the west side of the property.
So this would be updated as part of the vote here. Is
Probably just a clarification of that item number 2 to include the north property line.
Thank you.
Other questions? Any other discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 12-0. All right, so let's go back to agenda item number 4.1, CON 2019-00003, and Dave?
All you have to do
I don't know what that means. Oh, well,
you want to,
they'll get it.
okay.
Okay,
Madam Chairman, because we've heard this case once before, and this will be the third time it will be publicly on the content of the, outside of the presentation, limit the, because we've probably heard everything that's going to be said. I know we can't say no, we can't stand up and say it, but limit it to like 2 minutes or something to that effect.
yes, I mean, we can certainly do that, but we'd have to have a second on that motion.
I make a motion that we limit comments to 2 minutes per person.
Second?
And I guess I would just chime in that on the motion, would that be a motion to suspend the bylaws and limit the speaker time to 2 minutes?
Yes.
You agree to that?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to decrease the time to 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm having trouble thinking today. For public comment per person. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Ms. Miles, there was
Yes.
a,
We not speak on that matter at all, because if it's not in your minutes, we read it before, how can it change?
We,
Green?
yeah, we received the minutes of the county commission meeting that went over all of the discussions and talking points that we had heard at the first meeting, and I believe that's probably what's being referred to as hearing it for a second time, because we have reviewed the minutes from the council, or not the city council, but the county commission meeting.
Now, along those lines, I do want to address that with the commission. So what we have been charged with doing is, after this went to county commission, is that this was sent back to us to actually justify how the golden rules were used in the decision-making process as we made a decision on this case. And so what we'll need to do is we'll need to have some public comment. Of course, will be limited to 2 minutes. That public comment will need to be focused on how those comments relate to the golden rule, so we won't rehear evidence that we have already heard. We won't have a reiteration of those things that we've already heard. There will have to be new stuff, and it will have to be tell how it aligns with the golden rules. And so in the end, when we have heard everything that we need to hear, what we'll do is come back together, tell how we use the golden rules in our decision, and make the determination whether we will reaffirm the decision that we previously made, or if we want to change that decision.
Madam Chairman, the reason
Yes,
I
sir.
made the motion is because the last time we had 22 people speak,
Yes,
and after about the third or fourth one, it was repetition.
yes,
Once in a while, they bring a little something different in.
yes,
At the county commission, it was the same basic way.
yes.
So that's why I mentioned this would be the third time. And we, like you mentioned, we've read all of this
Yes.
material at least twice.
Right,
So
yes.
that's the reason why.
Yes,
Not-
and I
Not trying
know
to cut
we had-
anybody out. It's just that repetition and repetition.
Absolutely. And we have quite a bit of information from the county commission meeting as well. So I think we have heard quite a bit. but we still want to give people their voice. So, Dave?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You've stolen all my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
But that's okay. It's your prerogative, it's your meeting. This is the reconsideration of the conditional use request for a group residence on South Hydraulic, outlined here on the aerial showing the zoning of the property in the area. The aerial photo in question, the 5-acre tract that has the home at the north end of that property, that is an unplatted lot. It shows the area as being within the Hayesville jurisdiction or area of influence. And as you recall, we gave you evidence of the Hayesville Planning Commission's vote to recommend denial of this request that was held back at the end of February. One of the new items we want to put on the record in front of you today is following the public hearing on June 6th, there were protest petitions filed, outlined in red, showing the properties that were owned by owners of residents that filed protest petitions that totaled 92%, just under 92% of the notification area as outlined by statute. That's a 1,000-foot radius. So we have almost a 92% protest on record with this case. So when this does finally go before the Board of County Commissioners, it would take 4 votes for the Board of County Commissioners to approve the request over the protest petitions. Just briefly, you've got all this in your packet and you've seen that this is the site plan that was submitted. It is showing the existing home and the improvements. There are no other buildings shown. And if approved, it's limited to this site plan and these buildings only. If there is ever a desire to expand or modify, it would take a modification of the conditional use to do that, which would be another public hearing. The photograph of the property in question, that is the home as you're looking from Hydraulic. That's straight on from Hydraulic. This is what is across the street to the east. It is a farm field. And again, that's looking north along Hydraulic, and that's looking south. Within your packet, you received first a letter from Mr. Ferris, who has been retained by the applicant to represent her. He provided you a 2-page letter that addresses the application and provided some language that they're proposing to support the golden findings of or golden standards of why this should be approved. We also gave you the complete packet of information that was submitted to the Board of County Commissioners as well as the minutes. So you have all that material. The request of the county commissioners was the Planning Commission to provide findings supporting your original recommendation of approval. The record of the minutes was also, should be helpful in providing you the opportunity to do that. We gave you some supplemental information that could be used as you prepare a response to the Board of County Commissioners. Since this is a reconsidered action coming back to you by statute, your obligation is to make a decision at the first meeting, i.e. today, or else your original recommendation goes back unchanged. That's what the statute says. So your obligations today are to provide supplemental information regarding the findings or take no action on it, which means your original recommendation goes back. You also have the option of modifying your recommendation if that's what you feel necessary to do. I would let the counselor supplement if you find anything with that at all. If not, I'll be happy to answer their questions. I'm not going to answer information from the stuff you guys were to read that. So.
Questions for Dave? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, if we could have agent or applicant please step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 10 minutes.
Madam Chairman, my name is Greg Ferris. I reside at 144 South Bay Country Court in Wichita. Members of the Planning Commission, I've been asked by Andrea to assist her in this application. I was not involved in the initial process. I've told her some different things that we might have done differently, but those are in the past and those are irrelevant today. What is relevant today is whether or not this case conforms with the golden rules as set out in your planning guidelines. And those are, my comments will be directed in that regard. I believe you have my letter that addresses those, but I would like to have those verbally read, so in the record. And also to maybe disagree a little with staff. While I hate disagreeing with staff, I think there are a couple comments that are in their report that I think are not exactly accurate to what is being proposed at this site, and I think they should be clarified. So with that, I'd like to tell you that I believe that the zoning and character of this neighborhood is truly residential, and that we are not changing that in any shape or form. There's been some discussion about a quote-unquote business being operated on this property. If you drive by this property in 6 months, if this is approved, it'll look like a residence. It'll act like a residence. People will be living there like a residence. So there is no change to the uses and character of the neighborhood. Even if you want to go beyond that, there are businesses in that neighborhood. There are 3 at least. There's a daycare in that neighborhood that has customers that come and go. That's what we think about as a business, or when people are coming and going. There are an air conditioning repair business, I believe, and a lawn care business or something. But those have trucks and all of those things that you associate with a business. This will be a residential dwelling where people live, so it will not be any change in the zoning or character of the neighborhood. And that's why we think, to the extent that the removal of the restrictions will affect nearby properties, there is no impact. And the reason there is no impact is because this will continue to operate and look and be like a resident. Now, there's been some discussion about the types of kids that may be located in here, and I think it's really important to understand that currently she's licensed as a foster home, as I have been in the past, and we go through the process and we look at the children that may be able to come in and we evaluate that, and you're limited to 4. But there is no restriction on the types of foster children that can be in this home under the current situation. The only change that will be happening is the change from 4 people to 6 people, or youth. So when you go from 4 to 6, there are some requirements that the state has, and those will be implemented. But as far as the type of children that will be in the home, there will be no differences there that can be allowed today. So that goes back again to whether or not the removal of the restriction will detrimentally impact the property, surrounding property. There is no detrimental, because what's allowed there today will be the same as allowed in the future. I think the relative gain of public health and safety is very important to understand. You know, we live in a community that, frankly, there are unfortunate folks that need help. The welfare of our community is to help those people. That's what Andrea does, is she helps those people. So the gain to the community and to the welfare of the community is beyond what is required in the scope of the golden rules. So I believe, again, that is one thing that should be taken into consideration. There will be no impact on proposed community facilities. I think staff and I agree on that. This is not, she has to be checked out by the county to make sure that she has the appropriate water system, by the appropriate sewer system. She has those things. They are not community facilities, so that's not going to be an impact. We're not generating traffic. Again, this is probably going to be less than a normal residence, so the impact on hydraulic will even be less. And I think going into staff's conclusions, when I visited with staff, they had 2 major concerns. One was the condition of the property. You made a recommendation in your conditions that the applicant is more than happy to oblige, and that is that MAPCD has to go into the property and evaluate it, and whatever they recommend, she has to do. That takes care of the issue that staff had with the condition of the property and the flooding and those things. So that's no longer a condition that staff, I believe, is concerned with. They can address that. But I think they believe that what you have done is address that in the appropriate way. So I think that that's important. I also think that their other consideration was whether or not this was going to be a business. And when you look at what's going to operate there, you're going to have children living there. There will be somebody there to oversee them, and that's a little different than somebody living there overseeing them. But those people will be there 24/7, which should give you a greater consideration. Right now, she can have 4 children of any type of foster kids, and she can come and go, just like somebody would. Under the new system, they will add 2, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, those people have to be supervised. So it's a greater degree of supervision, but it's still a residential living environment. It is not a business. So those issues should be taken care of when you really look at the true facts of what's going on here. So I believe when you look at the types of children, there's not going to be any difference. We're only talking 2 children. When you look at the list of the golden rules as I have cited them, I believe this case does follow what you recommended. Would appreciate that. And since you are cutting everybody else down, I'm going to cut myself down to 2/3 of what my time would be. So I'd be glad to answer any questions if you would have those.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Right. Very much. Okay, is there anybody from the audience? I know there is, that would like to speak on this case. If so, if you'll step forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes. Yes, Mr. Green.
Before we open it up to testimony, public testimony, could you briefly, or maybe our attorney could briefly describe those items that fall under the golden rule policies that Mr. Ferris so eloquently shared with us, that our people that are going to provide testimony can then address those specific items as opposed to items that really have no bearing on our decision-making process.
Sure, I would be happy to do that. Dale, did you want to comment?
Well, all I was going to say is if people of the general public have a copy of the staff report, on page 2 and 3, we've listed the 7 items there that are appropriate and have crafted findings that represent the motion that was made at the previous plan commission. And so it would be the main 7 items that they would want to speak to.
Commissioner Green, would you still like me to address your question?
Yeah, because I'm not sure that everybody has a copy of that staff
Sure.
report.
I'll go through these, each one of the golden factors. The first one is the zoning, uses, and character of the neighborhood. The second is the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted. The third is the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. The fourth is the length of time the subject property has remained vacant as zoned. The fifth is the relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare as compared to the loss in value or hardship imposed upon the applicant. The sixth is the conformance of the requested change to the adopted or recognized comprehensive plan or other plans or policies being utilized by the county. The seventh is the impact of the proposed development on community facilities. The eighth is the opposition or support of neighborhood residents. And the ninth and final factor is a consideration of the recommendations of professional staff. In this case, that'd be MAPD staff.
And I did want to comment that a list of those golden rules are out right outside the door there's a thing on the wall that does have golden rules available if somebody would like to pick some of those up.
Thank you.
Okay. If we could have that first person that wanted to speak back up to the podium. Yes, Mr. Foster, you have a question?
Yes, I'm uncomfortable bringing this up, but I did not receive any ex parte conversations on this or contact on it. However, we did receive at our desks here some Facebook things, and I just want to make sure from staff's the legal standpoint that we're okay going forward.
Commissioner Foster, could I get you to expand on your question there in terms of being okay going forward?
As I mentioned, I'm uncomfortable mentioning this, but we have some Facebook references here. Ms. Miles, the information now. I'm just looking for guidance here.
Sure. I mean, obviously, Ms. Miles is the chairman of the Planning Commission. It's up to each of you as individual planning commissioners on each case that's in front of you to make the determination of whether you should abstain from the matter that's in front of you or not. To this point, Ms. Miles has not indicated an intention to abstain, and the Planning Commission has no authority to make her abstain. And does that answer your question, Commissioner Foster?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understand. Okay, thank you.
David, I'd like to address that question as well. Yes, I'm a very public, transparent type of person. I'm an advocate in the community, and something I guess I'm maybe trying to do less of. I don't know. The comments that I did make on social media were after we had heard this hearing, and they were based on information that I gathered in the last hearing that we had. Not aware that this case would not be approved or denied by the county commission, and that we would have that case come back here. So I'm a vocal person. Well, I'm a very transparent person. So, yes, Mr. Green.
Yeah, and in support of that, that was one thing that I was looking at going through this document was that, we heard this item on June 6th.
Yes.
And it was voted on June 6th. And it appears from this information that was handed to us that all of your comments were made July 8th through 11th, which would have been a full month after we had already voted on it. So I, for one, don't seem to have any problem whatsoever with.
Again, those comments, not only were they made after the fact, I had no idea that this was going to come back. And yes, Mr. Duell.
So just to be clear, this does not violate any rules on ex parte communication. Is that your opinion?
Let me maybe address that perhaps. Ex parte communications are typically information that you as planning commissioners, since you sit in a quasi judicial capacity, information that you would have received outside of the hearing process that may impact your decision or be influential on your mind on the case. I think in terms of the exhibit that was shown today, the Facebook comments would be in part, and Ms. Miles, I would let her speak and clarify anything I'm saying, but some of them were explanatory in nature. Some of them were just more comments in nature. That doesn't mean that an ex parte communication would be if, for example, somebody approached you as individual planning commissioner with a stack of information about a case or met with you and talked with you in detail about a case. In this case, to the extent that there was an ex parte communication on Facebook, that's been disclosed on the record here by being an exhibit. And does that answer your question, Commissioner Duell? I'm not saying one way or another. I'm not speaking on the abstention or whether that's necessarily appropriate or inappropriate. I'm just saying that there has been a disclosure.
That answers my question, and the fact that she disclosed, that's fine. I appreciate your explanation.
Any other questions about the social media comments? I'm happy to respond to or answer. You're up, sir. You state your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes this time.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Bob Kaplan, 1600 Epic Center. Mr. Ferris, my good friend, simply did not address the issue in this case. The cardinal issue in this case is the cardinal issue in every land use case, and that is the property, the subject property, is that suitable for the use intended? Despite approval by this commission, no commissioner made the finding that the property as is suitable as a residential, as a group residence. No one made that finding. No one thought that. everyone understood that there was a remediation that was going to be required before this property could be used really for anything. It's really not even fit for single-family, be habitable. Now, this case was scheduled for March of this year. It was continued twice. It was continued twice so the applicant could present either remediation, particularly the basement issue, which you've all heard a lot about, or at least a plan for that remediation. It's now the end of August. The only thing that we heard from the applicant was that she will not fill the basement. Said that. She told you that. Now, Commissioner Warren said, okay, if you're not going to do that, give us an alternative. The county said that she's going to have to comply with the Wichita Building Industrial Panel recommendation.
Sir, your time is up.
It's been 6 months. Nothing has happened. This is not the normal condition. This is not submitting paperwork or submitting a site plan. You're kidding me.
Your time is up.
Can I have 1 minute, please?
We're not going to extend 1 minute because there's already been a vote to put the bylaws aside.
1 minute?
I'm sorry. Is there questions from the commission? None? Okay, thank you. The next person that would like to speak would step forward and state their name and address. I do want to remind you that as you present, if you would let us know how what you're presenting applies to the golden rules apply to what you're presenting, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Kelly Chapman, and I live at 8326 South Victoria. In this process, we have tried to follow the rules and stay within the boundaries as we understood them. In large numbers, our neighborhood has shown up for 3 hearings, now 4, since February 28th, to speak of our concerns about this requested rezoning and how it will set a precedence for further rezoning and open the door for even more businesses in our residential neighborhood. We understand this to be a land use issue that does not conform to the current rural residential zoning of our area. I would like to address just a couple issues with you that are quite concerning in this process. When we received the initial communication letter informing us that our neighbor was applying for a conditional use permit, we were given very little information and very vague information with which to make a decision. How in the world do you think citizens in this county can make good and informed decisions if you don't give them enough details and information to know what the heck is even being proposed? It was up to us as neighbors to do our own homework and an incredible amount of research to even begin to understand what was actually being proposed for our neighborhood. The onus shouldn't be on the homeowners who already live in the area and abide by the current zoning. The onus to be forthright with details and honest with their intentions should be on the one who's proposing to do something in contradiction to the existing zoning. Also, at our hearing on June 6th, we were appalled when your chairperson, Cindy Miles, appeared to be interjecting her own personal opinions and thoughts about a need for more foster care group homes in Sedgwick County. Well, I'm sorry, but I've read your 9 golden rules, and the needs for Sedgwick County aren't one of those rules. We came in June, and now we're back here in August to address a land use only issue only and nothing else. When we left here, we felt like Cindy Miles is very biased, and our thoughts were solidly confirmed in those Facebook and social media posts that we found on the World Wide Web, and good Lord, there's probably some more. We didn't get them all, I'm sure.
Ma'am, your time is up.
We respectfully ask that you would recuse yourself, Mrs. Miles.
We have the next person that wants to speak. Step forward and state your name and address.
My name is Zona Ann Spangler. I live at Warren. I live the house behind what's being proposed. And I do have a problem with
Your address, please.
8340 South Victoria. And I do have a problem with this because this is, I don't care if you put a white thick fence around it, it's set up like an institute, not like a foster care. There's a difference. Because I was raised in a foster care. I wasn't raised in an institute. Foster care, you got people coming over, you got people that, your friends, where you can spend the night, you could go to their house. This isn't gonna happen like that. You're not gonna bring little kids over to spend the night in that type of setting. It's an institute. This is not a need, it's land use only. And I really am opposed, and again, I'm gonna pick on you, ma'am, because this is not a political game to get from here to your next level. And when you start using this to get to your next level, you have broken the golden rule. The majority of these neighbors do not want this here, and we've said it, and we're here, and that's the number one first golden rule. And to me, when you all agree to this, then you're breaking the old golden rule of what we're saying with the neighbors saying, we don't want it. We had 95% vote or 98% vote. That should tell you, we don't want it. I'll take a foster care. I love foster care. But when you set it up as an institute where you're not going to be there, you got my attention. My sisters, I had sisters that would have not have made it in a foster care. They didn't. And this institute, they would have been in one of those, and I'm telling you, you could have not kept them in that house. You could have locked the doors, whatever you want to say that you're going to do, you're not going to do it. I'm telling you. Foster care, I'm agreed to. Institute, I'm not.
Questions from the commission?
One. Has the conditions of that property improved? Because initially it was saying that the grass wasn't being cut.
That is not true. The neighbors there before, now, I love the way that they had the flowers and the gardening. I love that. I love that. I love the flowers. We got flowers around our house. Now, she has a different way of the way she likes to keep her house groomed. Good for her. If she wants to take all those flowers around that house and make it according to what she likes. Everybody has their own opinion of what gardening they liked. I loved the way that they had that. I loved their yard. That was me.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Debbie Provines. I live at 8327 Victoria, which is just one block west of Hydraulic. I'm going to try to condense my little presentation here, so excuse me if I don't speak in a natural flow. But what I would like to discuss is in regards to Golden Rule 3. What I would like to discuss is the economic impact that this commercial permit would have on our neighborhood and county. This is not simply a loving family taking a child in hopes of adopting a child of their own. This is for-profit business asking to be operated within our rural neighborhood. I would like to share some facts taken from adoptionchildtime.org and our concern for our safety within the rural community by permitting this type of business. Detachment and the destruction of the capacity for intimacy are not the only results of long stays in foster care. Frustration can lead to aggression. An unstable childhood generates a deep-seated and often subconscious anger. Over 70% of all state penitentiary inmates have spent time in the foster care system. That's from the California State Legislature. A federal study of former foster care wards reported that 75% of Connecticut youths in the state juvenile justice system were once in foster care. Almost 20% of young prison inmates spent part of their youth in foster care. Data further shows that 44% of children placed in foster care are arrested at least once, while the same was true for only 14% of children who stayed with their biological families. So that is our concern for safety. I understand that we cannot predict the future. We don't exactly know all the negative effects that this could have on our neighborhood. However, I can share staggering numbers that reflect how this possible permit has already...
Your time is up.
Okay, I have some supporting documents for my statements, and it's in regards to the number of homes that are for sale in our neighborhood. And just briefly, one last comment. Going back 2 years, from June 17 to June 18, only 3 homes were listed in our neighborhood for sale.
Thank you.
Going back
Questions?
1 year,
Ma'am?
one home.
Your time is up.
We have 6 on the market now. And who do I give these supporting documents to? Does anybody care?
Questions from the commission? Mr. Foster?
I do have a question for you, ma'am. I'm
And out
not-
of those 6 homes, 5 of them did sign against the,
Ma'am, your time is up,
protest.
but I would like for you to answer Mr. Foster's question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
I'm not recalling exactly where it was that I read it, but I vaguely recall that it references other foster homes within the neighborhood. Are you familiar with that and understand where some of those might be located?
no, I'm not, but somebody is here that does.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Warren?
Ma'am, according to your testimony, I'm assuming what you're saying is that this kind of operation would not be desirable in any neighborhood in the county.
No, I was going to cover that too, but I got cut short.
Okay, I gave you the open door. You
Okay.
got 1 minute.
I got to find it. Can I just read this because I'm kind of
You can be quick.
I will. Lastly, I would like to address the economic impact that depreciated home values would have on Sedgwick County and homeowners' equity.
That doesn't go to my question.
It goes into it, though.
Okay.
The average price home currently in the market within our neighborhood is $247,000. If each of these approximately 60 homes lost 10% value because of the increased crime rate and decrease of neighborhood desirability a commercial business would have on our rural community, the result is decreased property taxes. The result is approximately $17,000 per year reduction in property taxes collected by Sedgwick County. If the commercial businesses were operating in a different location, such as inner city or adjacent to other commercial businesses, it would have no impact on the county taxes. In conclusion, allowing just one permit has multiple effects on this neighborhood and our county's revenue, including decreased quality of life for all those who live in the area whose primary reason for living here is tranquility and seclusion from a commercial environment. An astonishing 91% of our neighbors voted against this permit, backed on criminal data by this time. So inner city
Inner city
is,
is the only place where these kids should go. I'm wanting to
it
understand your
is based
testimony.
off of the zoning, sir.
Okay, so we're going
You
to
know,
push
if
kids
the-
into inner city areas, is what you're saying.
If somebody wants to operate a business as such, they should do so in an area that is zoned as such.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question. I'm looking, I've been looking through this entire case for information regarding some study, some research that's been done to show a decline in property value or an increase in crime as a result of any of the homes that have been put in any neighborhoods. Would you happen to have any of that for me?
I have the fact that these homes that are going up for sale are concerned about losing value in their property as far as
Ma'am,
having a
Ma'am, I
special study.
Ma'am, I understand the concern. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
good.
Thank you.
And
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Next speaker? Do we have somebody else that's going to speak?
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Looks like you're real happy today. I'm happy to be alive. I hope you are. First off, I'm gonna start out, I buried my mother 30 minutes, or about an hour and a half ago.
Sir, I need you to state your
Okay,
name
my
and
name's
address.
Charles Rupert. I live at 8121 South Hydraulic. I'm gonna give Bob my minutes. Is that okay with
You
you?
cannot give Bob your minutes.
Why
sir.
can't I?
your
Because
testimony.
Bob has already had his minutes, and this
But
is your,
you-
this is your testimony.
You are allowed to give your minutes to other people, is what I
You're
was
not.
told.
Not
I'm
in- not in
Bob,
this
They won't let me give
case.
you my minutes. She says I can't give them to you. Okay? Well, here's why I'm up here. I'm up here for the golden rules only. I'm not up here for anything else, and I hope that each individual one of you people will listen. Don't let nobody else, including Cindy Miles that's biased, make up your opinion. That's all I got to say, because the last time I sat here, it was obvious what went on. And I'm allowed to say this, I don't know Cindy Miles and she don't know me. All I'm asking you for, please, and you can sit there and laugh and talk to your people. Yeah, you are. You're
sir.
sitting there laughing, smirking at me.
I'm not smirking.
You need to
at you,
make up
sir.
your own mind.
I'm a smiler.
I'm a grown
sorry.
man. I make up my mind. And this gentleman right here is a really nice gentleman, sitting here in the front row. Please, make up your own minds. I don't care what you say. It's all about the 9 golden rules. We can make all the excuses in the world, but please go by this. I'm begging you. Thank you.
Questions from the commission? Okay, next presenter.
I'm J.R. Ward. I live in 84th Street South. First thing I want to say that Cindy, you were pretty biased last time. You cut us short. You gave the other people more time that they needed. You extended their time. You were pretty biased. Please refuse yourself from voting on this one. Now, what I'm going to say over here right now, that from 4 kids to 6 kids, so on. Per day, $171 per day per kid, times 6 is $1,026, times 30 days is $30,780, times 12 is $369,360. 30% of that will be expensive, that's $258,552, $250,000. By the way, everything is tax deductible because it's run as a business. From 4 to 6, 4 kids will be $272,160,000. Now, that's not bad. That's not a bad payoff, you know? It's not really a bad payoff. It's good for you that I'm glad you have that business. Why change the zoning to add 2 more kids? You got 4 kids in there right now. Everybody's happy. Don't change the zoning, everybody will shut their mouth out and will let you run your business. You have to hire somebody and pay somebody over here to advocate for you. That's not bad. That means that this is good money, and that's why you're fighting for it. And I'm glad you're fighting for this. There's no 2 ways about it. There's no 2 ways about it. Keep it at 4, and everybody happy. Go to 6, and then you're gonna have hell, like you're having right now. Keep it at 4 and be
Sir,
happy.
you need to address your comments to the commission, not to the
Well,
applicant.
it's to everybody, to everybody. To you, my comment would be rebuke yourself. Okay, rebuke yourself.
Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Next presenter?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Molly Troxel, and I live at 1417 East 82nd Street South, which is about a half a block behind the back property of the applicant. And I am here to ask you to not change the zoning, but not for a reason that you might think. Everybody's been talking about the negative impact. I'm here to talk about the suitability as well, but from the advocacy of the children that will be placed there. If you change the zoning, even though there's talk in the business plan that is currently on file to only add 2, that is because it was discovered that you would need to have a psychologist, a degreed psychologist on hand, plus more than 1 person to be there 24/7, and a lot of things that the applicant currently does not want to do. But the zoning is not what's preventing her from doing that. It's the laws of group foster homes that are preventing her from having more. If she wants to have more, she can, if you change the zoning. So don't be fooled by Mr. Ferris saying she only wants 2 more. She could have more, as per the zoning. if she wants to get help from St. Francis Ministries or someone else and allow her to expand by having more employees and a psychologist. Right now, she doesn't want to do that. We believe it's because she feels it's a business. We have social media posts that I've captured that shows she's called it a business ever since she's bought that home with the intention of making a group home there. But I'm advocating for the kids that will be there. There are studies, and I do have copies of their links that I will provide to you, that shows that this is not a suitable property for a group foster home, especially a YRC2 type, which can have children placed in it from the judicial system. It is something that shows that not just the negative, taking away the negative is not enough for these kids.
Ma'am,
They
your
have to
time
have
is up.
access to the positive.
Your time is up, ma'am.
Okay, I would like to see it in a city.
Questions from the commission? Mr. Warren?
Not a question, just a comment. I appreciate the fact that you brought something new.
Yes.
We've heard the same thing so many times over and over again, and that's a new perspective, and I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome. I would love to see these kids succeed. They need to be where they can see libraries and other kids and study with other kids and have people come and go to their houses, and I appreciate your time. And
Mr. Bill
I'll turn
Johnson,
this
do you
in
have a
to the
question? Okay.
No other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
There's also a study on the property values and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Next presenter? We have anybody else that would like to speak on this case? Yes, sir? Which one of you are going? We'll hear both of you.
My name's Joe Whaley. I live at 1515 East 82nd Street South. And this is just a quick comment that the golden rule stuff, if we've got like 91% of the residents in the area do not want it. Okay, what if it was 99%? Does that still mean that you could, I guess it means you can do what you've got to do, but doesn't it make common sense that 91% doesn't want it? She wants it, 91% doesn't. And all I'm asking is just use your logic. If it was in your neighborhood, 91%. If it was 99, would that really make a difference? 91 is a very large percent. And that's all I have to say. Is there a question? Thank you. And just put yourself in our position. Thank you.
Thank, sir, just, can you wait just a second? Is there any questions from the commission? No?
Thank you again.
Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Next presenter?
Hi, I'm Trudy Rupert. I live at 8121 South Hydraulic. I'm here to address the Golden Rule number 8. And I'm sure you all are aware of the Golden Rule number 8, opposition and support for the neighborhood. I would just reiterate what he said. We have 91.2% of homeowners within 1,000 feet that are registered in the county clerk's office that do not want it. We have over 400 signatures of the neighbors that are outside of the 1,000 feet that do not want this. So please take that into consideration. I also want to make a comment about, these are not children. These are high-risk teenagers between 13 and 18 years old. They're not kids, they're teenagers. Please take, so when you said that, that is incorrect. Also, I would like to read my letter that I wrote to the county commissioners. We expect our officials to support the people, not to have hidden agendas, and not to be biased. I also believe Cindy Miles should recuse herself and not vote. She was biased in the meeting. She presented her personal experiences and had a separate agenda that day. It was very clear, based on her confirmation on Facebook and social media. Cindy Miles, you are biased. She abused her power. You abused your power and influenced others on the board. That is unacceptable. We are the homeowners. We have spoken, and we hope you do take that into consideration. The other thing I'd like to comment and correct is that day after we left the meeting, Cindy Miles went to another function and was clearly commented about this meeting and her intentions and her behavior. That was unacceptable. And that is on Facebook, and that was done the same day, not 3 weeks later. That was the same day here. Thank you for your time.
Questions from the commission?
I don't have a question, but I'm going to make a comment.
Okay.
We've all heard about what everybody thinks of Cindy, but I'm going to tell you, I've been on this commission for about 25 years. We're all in different businesses, business interests, whatever, and we rely on each other's opinion if they know more than what we do. Not all of us know everything about every case, so that's why we're a committee. And I will assure you that I know she didn't persuade me to vote one way or another. We don't always agree on certain things, but we're going to listen to our other commissioners. That's all I got to say.
I'd like to
That wasn't a
comment.
question to you. No.
I would like to comment, we are here for zoning.
Ma'am, your comment time is up.
Okay, I just
Could you
want to
take
know, want you to
take
know
a
we're
seat,
here for a
please?
zoning issue.
Thank you. Okay, can we have the next speaker, please?
My name is Carla Whaley. I live at 1515 East 82nd Street South. I'm right behind the residence that we're talking about. We were told that a decision for or against this rezoning petition must be based on the 9 golden rules. So we would like to address those. The Golden Rule 1, the zoning uses and character of the neighborhood. This is a rural residential neighborhood. This applicant's proposed group boarding home will change this residential home into a business. It would then be out of character with the rest of the single-family homes in this area. We respectfully object to allowing this business in our neighborhood. It will set precedents for more zoning changes and even more businesses, forever changing the character of our neighborhood. Golden Rule number 2, the suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted. This home is currently zoned rural residential. This home can continue to be as a residence and do what she wants to do. However, your metropolitan area planning staff found that a group home for foster care in this house was an inappropriate use of this property, given the history of the existing structure and the recommendation by WABA to fill in the basement, because there was no other way to stop the ongoing and extensive flooding problem, which our home is still dealing with. Mind you, if there is any safety or health risk associated with her having standing water in the basement for months, or the subsequent black mold that this applicant has already stated that she and her family will not be living there, those potentially affected by their safety and health risk will be the foster care. They do live there, and it's entrusted in you. There's mold.
Questions from the commission? Mr. Florence,
I did have a question, so
could you step back to the podium, please, for questions?
have you noticed any type of activity to work, as far as to resolve that issue at that particular area, as far as the basement is concerned?
As far as the basement,
Have you seen any
Any activity?
contractors, or anything like that? Yes.
No. No.
Other questions from the commission? Ma'am, I would like to, I'm just curious, because I'm trying to understand everybody's point of view. If she was to tear down the home and build a new home that you feel like would be more suitable for the kids to stay there, would
I'd want it
that
as a residential.
be,
She could have 4
well, this will be a residence. Would you be okay with that?
with 4 foster kids, yes. But if you have to rezone for more, then that brings in other businesses, liquor stores, strip clubs. We don't want that.
Okay, thank you. Next presenter.
My name's Gary Chapman. I live at 8326 South Victoria. We do want to continue on with the golden rules that she was trying to talk about. And golden rule number 4 says length of the property remain vacant is zoned. The property did not sit vacant. Golden rule number 5, relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare is compared to loss of value. The value of the home is the same as it was when she bought it. This would not change. She could continue on with 4 kids, or she could sell it and move to an area that is zoned for what she would plan for what she would like to do as a group home. The golden rule number 6, conformance of the requested change to the adopted or recognized comprehensive plan. The Community Investments Plan 2015 to 2035 depicts that this location being in Hayesville urban growth area. The Hayesville future land use plan map shows that the subject property as future residential use. This request change to establish to a group residence on the property would not be in line with Hayesville's future plan. And for some reason, I'd like to wonder why it is so hard to understand going from 4 foster kids to 6. And when we were in the commission meeting, Lacey Cruz, I thought, gave a good example. She said, she'll understand if you had 4 cars or if you had 6 cars, what's the difference? Well, 4 cars is a residential. 6 cars becomes a car lot. We are against this becoming a business. You've heard if a duck quacks, or he swims like a duck, quacks like probably a duck. Well, this doesn't make sense that we'd spend this kind of money for just changing it from 4 to 6. Now, nobody's going to spend that kind of money unless they have future plans to develop more homes, or it just opens up the door. And that's what we're against, changing the use of the residential area for more businesses. And it is a business. That's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Okay. Next presenter.
Hi, I'm Monica Johnson. I live at 1517 East 85th, Hayesville, Kansas. I'm going to touch on a couple of the golden rules. Impact of the proposed development on the community facilities. In our area, county, we only have 1 community police officer who covers 36 square miles. A group residence in our rural area introduces a use that could result in a higher challenge in providing public safety services for everyone in our area. This gives the residents great concern, and we already have slow response in times for police, fire, and rescue calls. Golden 8's already been touched about the opposition to the support of the neighborhood residents. You know, when there's 91 of us that don't want it. Golden rule number 9, recommendation of professional staff. The metropolitan area planning staff recommended that the request be denied based on the golden rules. The Hayesville Planning Commission voted unanimously to deny this request. Even the mayor of Hayesville, Bruce Armstrong, in his official capacity, wrote a letter last month to the Sedgwick County Commissioners, asking them to please follow the recommendations of the MAPD and Hayesville Planning Commission to deny the conditional use permit based on the fact that this does not meet the golden rule criteria practice in both of the organizations. We respectfully ask that you consider the overwhelming majority of the citizens, your own metropolitan planning staff, the Hayesville Planning Commission, and the Hayesville mayor, who all believe that this is not a good fit for our neighborhood.
Okay, questions from the commission? Next speaker, please. Okay.
No, I'll explain that to you real quick so you understand why I'm confused, okay? I'm confused.
Can you state your name and address?
Yeah, my name's Tanya Ridpath. I live at 1500 East 86th Street South. I'm confused because, is it Mr. Ferris? Is that correct when you spoke earlier? Okay. I'm confused because he went through about the process of what they're planning, okay? And today, when I came in, I did lay some paperwork on everybody's desk, and it has her business plan. And I'm confused because it doesn't make sense to what's on the business plan, to what Mr. Ferris was saying. That's all. So then what I would like to base my stuff on is the main golden rule of our land use, which is what I've talked about every time I've come to these meetings. Miss Henshaw has 4 kids there, and I'm fine with that. And I had a big speech set out for this, and you guys have all messed me up with everything, and then this man here has confused me. But if you go in and you read Mrs. Henshaw's plan, everything that man just said has nothing to do with it. This is going to be a business. That's exactly what the plan says. Okay? And then when you look at what a group home means that I gave you guys right online, it states it's run by a business, a company. It also states that it's not good for children. It's the last resource. Read it. So I'm just really confused, because if you listen to what Mr. Ferris says, there's just some, I get really confused every time this stuff comes up, because it's like there's an alternative motive. That's what I see, an alternative motive. And for the first time, every time there was a meeting, I sat down at 1 o'clock this morning and wrote my speech. And every time I've gone up here to speak, I've done nothing but talk about the land use of this property, and this is not what it's zoned for. I gladly let you guys see my speech that I'm no longer going to say because this whole thing confused me, and you blocked us to 2 minutes.
Your time is up.
Thank you. That's what I was getting to. Okay?
Get questions from the commission. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name's Roy Eubank. I live at 8349 South Victoria. We all received this notice in the mail that this subject, over 91.2% of us are against it. And we're all taxpayers, we're homeowners, and we have rights, and we're just not feeling like we're being treated fairly. As a homeowner, as long as the rest of us, we have our rights, and we should just, we should be listened to. That's all I have to say.
Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Next, is anybody else that want to speak on this case? No? Yes, sir. If you'll step forward, state your name and address. You'll have 2 minutes.
My name is Ron Wolf, 8401 South Hydraulic. The property right adjacent south to the said property. I'm concerned with the safety of the situation. I was part of that 84 stated burglaries in the area when I was away from the property for other reasons. I'm concerned about them not doing what the Planning Commission did about the property. The previous owner I fought with and the surrounding community asked him to fill in that basement. I've lived in this area for 70-some years. I'm well aware about what the groundwater does in that area. My great uncle had a property on Grand Street. It was an orchard. I'd put wells in on that property, drove sand points. So I am well schooled in the properties in between Cowskin Creek and the Arkansas River. So I'm opposed to this situation because I don't want an orphanage ran in the area. And I believe it is going to be an orphanage if you approve it, the change of zoning. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Foster?
Given your knowledge of the groundwater, do you, what's your feeling on the concept of filling in the basement?
I believe that too many contractors or homeowners haven't received the information from the county because the county hires people that are too young to know the difference between groundwater and such properties that's in between the area of Cowskin Creek and the Arkansas River. Every time we've had substantial rain, excuse the language, but they had rainwater that is applied to the northwest of us, and it flows into whatever could percolate into the water. What flows off, we're not really concerned with. However, this property you're talking about, they've got 2 3-inch lines running into the bar ditch, and having a mosquito problem in front of our houses. They're on hydraulic because they think they can pump the water table down. There's too much water flowing down through the equus beds, or whatever you want to call it, the underground water, and that property may be on a flow that pushes in through the basement. And, like I say, I knew the previous owners and the 2 previous owners, we had the same problem with them trying to pump that water down. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. There's too much groundwater flow there. Did I answer your question, sir?
Close enough, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak on this case? No? Are we sure? Everybody is heard? Huh? Okay, okay, very good. Then yes,
quick,
Mr.
Chet.
McKay.
I've heard rezoning, I don't know how many different times today. I don't think this is a rezoning case, is it?
It is not. It's a
It's
special
conditional
use
use
permit.
permit.
Yes.
Which is completely altogether different.
It's conditional use permit, sorry.
That's what, okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go to a rebuttal. 2 minutes.
Madam Chairman, thank you. Again, I'm Greg Ferris. I'll be very brief. The basement issue, we understand is an issue. We concur with the recommendations that you made in your findings and conditions. And if the recommendation is to fill the basement, she'll fill the basement. So whatever the recommendation is, that's what and if she doesn't, then she can't have anything there because the conditional use is invalid. So you all know that, but so that's a non-issue. I didn't address neighborhood opposition as one of the golden rules. It certainly is, and they certainly oppose that. And in my opinion, after listening to everything, that's the only condition that of the golden rules. And as you well know, that you cannot deny a case with one of the golden rules. You must have more than one, and you can give one a little more weight, but if it's only one, you certainly can't do that. Appreciate that. Thank you. It's not a zone change, it's a conditional use. We're applying conditions to that. If need be, if the commission so chooses to add an additional condition today to the recommendation that she may only have 6 children there, that's all she intends. So she said that from day one. Certainly you may add that as a condition. We welcome that as a condition, and certainly would maybe alleviate at least one of the 100 things I heard today. And I think they're mistaken in what this is. These children will be, they're still children to me, sorry. These youth will be able to invite their friends over. This is not an institution. This is a home. They can invite their friends over. They can play games. They can watch TV together. So those are the things that I think are important for you to understand. This is not a commercial business. This is a conditional use to allow a group residence in this facility. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, questions from the commission? Mr. Foster?
I think I got three questions here. Just to confirm, in the staff information, how many baths are in the home?
2.
2? Okay. If there are 3 bedrooms and this goes to 6, how does staff stay on the property?
If it's all right with you, I'll call Andrea up here. That may be a question that she can answer a little better. Andrea? So where would staff stay? That's all you have to address this.
The staff will not sleep at the property. They will be awake 24 hours.
But what facility? Do they work out of an office?
There will be an office in the house, yes.
Has MABCD been out to examine the property?
They've been out. I don't know that they've made a final ruling. The director's here if you'd like to ask him. But whatever that is, that's one of the conditions you placed, and that would have to be followed.
Thank you.
And the staff person that's there will be throughout the whole house. So they just won't be sleeping, so they don't need a bedroom.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferris.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Richardson has some staff questions.
Yes, sir.
Couple of questions, Dave. Is there anything besides our requirements here that restricts this to 6? Is it the size of the house? Do we understand?
It's our understanding that the restrictions based on the findings of what the state requires, we'll put the limit on that, yes.
So it'd be the number of bedrooms
It'd be,
restrictions to 6.
accommodations of facilities.
The second question I have is, what zoning would be required to have this use by right?
I'm going to defer to Scott.
It's first permitted by right in general office zoning.
Mr. Florence.
That's all I have.
As a staff,
Correction, it's actually B multifamily.
have the staff recommendations changed, or is it still?
No, the staff recommendations have not changed. We do not change our recommendations when they're, after they're originally submitted.
Dave, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm unclear when the Hayesville Planning Department denied this application. Can you explain to me how they applied the golden rules, or what golden rules they applied to
Well, the
this
planning
case?
commission officially did not conduct a public hearing.
Okay.
It was the planning commission that took action. They did take testimony the evening that they considered this. And after all the testimony was given, both for and against, they simply took a vote. They did not make findings, no, because it was not a formal hearing. It was a review and comment meeting that was conducted.
Foster, you have a question?
I would like to ask someone from MABCD if they could shed some light on the condition of the structure. I think that plays in on the suitability question.
Oh, okay. Okay, we do. Yes. We do have somebody.
We do, ma'am. Chris Labrum, Director of MABCD. Specifically, Mr. Foster, your question is about the basement, the condition of the house in general.
Well, we've seen a lot of information about mold concerns, and I mean, I'm very concerned if kids are going to be down in this basement space. But I'm just curious, what is the condition, and have you considered that recommendation of filling in the basement?
Of course, we have. We have done an initial assessment on this. We have not done a very thorough assessment at this point. Part of that was a recommendation to maybe wait until we had further results from this commission and the BOCC. It is my understanding that the applicant has considered and may even be seeking a bid to see what it would take to fill in the basement. It's also my understanding that there is no dwelling taking place in the basement right now. So obviously, as far as building condition, that changes a lot. That would give them a lot of options in order to protect the home. I don't have any indication that there is a mold problem beyond what takes place in most of the homes in that area that battle these high groundwater issues. I also understand that there's been quite a bit of work to assist with the drainage in that area, around that home, which will certainly help. With that, noting that the building code does not address high groundwater, you're certainly allowed to put a basement in high groundwater and do your best to keep the water out. It's just, obviously, it's something hard to do.
Other questions? Mr. Hartman?
So have you inspected the house yourself? Have you been out to it?
I personally have not been. I think we plan to go, we were waiting the results of this. I believe we have an appointment either tomorrow or early next week to complete the look at the house.
So has anybody looked into the possibility of mold being present?
The last time I had an inspector out there, they noted nothing particular as far as mold or a danger thereof. Do realize we look mostly for water, moisture intrusion. If we were to suspect a mold issue, that would be health department more so than us, but we would refer that to them for further evaluation.
Will the health department actually inspect the house?
I don't know what will be required if this goes through before they would be able to begin that conditional use. I know there would be some inspections. I don't know if health department would be particularly required. From what we have seen so far, we would have no indication that it would be needed, that it'd be necessary.
Warren?
I got a staff question. I'm through with this. This came back to us from the county commissioners with wanting an understanding of how this measures up with the golden rules. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes,
So
that's
we need to go through these golden rules one-on-one to get a consensus from this board as to whether or not the golden rules apply, or how do we do what we need to do to make sure that the county gets what they want?
What I would suggest on that, Commissioner Warren, would be that whenever one of you is ready to make a motion, before you make that motion, that you would read in proposed findings to support that motion. And then you as a planning commission could vote upon that motion or seek to amend it with a substitute motion.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to point out is, in order for staff, in order to try and facilitate the commission, we have in the staff report, we have findings for approval, and we have the original findings for denial to assist you if you want to use those as part of whatever you end up doing. But wanted to let you know that we put both the directions in the report.
Mr. Green, did you have a question? Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion and go through this process.
Mr. Foster?
Yes, I am curious if there's someone in the audience from like Youth Horizons or one of the other organizations. You read all this information and I'm trying to get a good sense of how all these different entities play in terms of providing an optimum environment for the youth. And is there anybody here from Youth Horizons or one of these professional organizations that might answer my question?
I don't think we have anybody from any of those organizations today, Mr. Foster. I know that we had somebody previously, and there's testimony that's within or information within the packet that came from County Commission that has information from such like Youth Horizons, as well as information about how many homes are currently in the community and how many are the YRC Level 2 homes. But I don't believe we have anybody here today to speak. And I know Mr. Warren is ready to make a motion. I feel like that I need to personally make a comment about how I applied the golden rules when I made this decision. I did not come in this room biased in any way. The only ex parte conversation that I had about this case was with the county commissioner. that gave me their opinion about what they thought about this case, but I didn't have any other conversation whatsoever. So in my own rulings, I took rule number 3, the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. Can the uses allowed in the requested district be good neighbors to existing development? This is a subjective question. The focus should be on facts, not fears, and should be based on issues that zoning can address: allowed uses, minimum lot size, height, setbacks, traffic, etc. This would apply in regards to the neighbors objecting based on their fear that having this home in their neighborhood would be a detriment to the neighborhood. But I have not seen any information that proves that similar homes that are out there have been a detriment to those neighborhoods, nor has the crime increased, nor have I seen that there's been any impact, and including in the information that I looked at for the county commission in home values. Rule number 8, opposition or support of neighborhood residents. This is just one of the factors to be considered, and by itself is not sufficient reason to approve or deny a request. Number 8 is not sufficient enough reason to deny either. We heard repeatedly about the issues with water in the basements in the neighborhood, and that we should deny based on that. I couldn't use that on any other case. So if it was a convenience store, any other case that I would hear, I wouldn't be able to use the fact that they've had a water issue to deny that applicant that case. I know that DHS will inspect the property and determine if it meets the standards for a group home, or that's my understanding. And I wonder if the water issue could be fixed for those neighbors that are concerned about having the kids with the water issue. If the basement was filled in, or if it could be fixed, would that change their points of view about having the kids in that home? Because I heard that repeatedly. Number 5, relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare as compared to the loss in value of the hardship imposed upon the applicant. The protection of public health, safety, and welfare is the basis for zoning. The relationship between the property owner's rights to use and obtain value from their property and the city's responsibility to its citizens should be weighed. I believe that this home will contribute to the health, safety, and welfare of the kids that need a safe place while they're in foster care. So I took this and applied it to the community as a whole. And what was best for the community as a whole. I can't select one single person and apply a golden rule to how it might impact that one person. Our community isn't meeting the need of foster care and foster kids. And if this case was for a hospital, or was for a doctor's office, or a dentist's office, or any other facility whatsoever, I would have made the same decision. If we had a shortage of hospitals and we needed to open up one there, then I would have made the decision that it's for the best of the community as a whole, not an individual person. And I did speak out publicly after we had issued a decision, not prior, in response to a news story. I am constantly evaluating both sides of every single case that I hear. I have very high morals and very high values, and I want to hear both sides of a case, any case, and not just a case, but anybody's opinion. And so I just want you to know that's how I personally applied the golden rules in the decision that I made. I can't take away the fact that I've been involved with advocating for children in this community. I can't take away the knowledge that I have about children in this community. That knowledge is just there. And so I do my best to make unbiased decisions when I come into this room to hear these cases. Thank you. And Mr. Warren, I know that you're ready to make a motion.
What I'm going to do is, and we've got it in our staff report, I'm going to read through the wording that they've got as to whether or not how the golden rule is managed in this case. We could each write our own description of whether or not that, how we feel about that. So at the end, if there's a change that you want to make to what is on here before we make the vote, the motion that I will make will be to approve with the addition of a condition to the conditional use that the uses be limited to no more than 6 youth will be an add-on to my motion to that.
And
Commissioner Warren, does that motion, does it include this, everything that was in the original recommendation of the
Yes.
MAPC?
Yeah, takes our original motion and adds the condition of no more than 6 youth. Staff reports down the zoning use and character of the neighborhood, that all the surrounding land is zoned RR, rural residential, and the use of the subject property will remain essentially residential in nature. Number 2, the suitability of the subject property for use to which it has been restricted. The site is zoned rural residential, and proposed use for the property is residential use. Number 3, the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. The proposed group residence limited for the group boarding home for foster children will not change the character of the area as a residential neighborhood. The claims of detrimental impact are unsupported by specific evidence or data. Recommended conditions for approval require the group residence limited to be operated in compliance with federal, state, and local rules and regulations. Number 4, the length of the property that has been vacant is currently zoned. The subject property is presently used for single-family residence and continue to be used for that purpose, so it's a non-factor. Number 5, conformance to the requested change to the adopted or recognized comprehensive plan. The Community Investment Plan for 2015-2035 depicts this location as being in the Hayesville Urban Growth Area, and Hayesville Future Land Use Plan map shows the subject property as future residential use. The proposed use is a residential use as defined in the Wichita-Sedgwick County Unified Zoning Code. Number 6, relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare by the destruction of value of plaintiff's property as compared to the hardship imposed upon the individual landowner. The establishment of a group residence limited at this location will benefit the public health, safety, and welfare by providing a home for up to 6 foster boys. Further, the applicant would suffer hardship or of a loss of income if the application is denied. Number 7, the impact of the proposed development on community facilities. The subject property has access to South Hydraulic Road, a 2-lane arterial at this location. Municipal water and sewer services are not present at this location, and the property relies on on-site water and wastewater services. All other utilities are currently provided to the subject property. Essentially, we're in agreement with those comments if you vote in favor of my motion to approve. So my motion is to approve with adding to the conditions that were previously added, limitation to 6 youth. Need a second.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Warren, a second by Mr. McKay. Other discussion? Mr. Foster.
I'd like, Dave, if I could ask you a question, please.
Yes, sir.
You know, the staff position is I prefer disapproval or denial. Could you walk us through the background on that? And, you know, you can read through these findings and you can take a different look at them, but please state the background on the denial by staff.
Recommendation of denial was based upon the information provided primarily to the county from WABA concerning the condition of the home. The view of staff was that the primary purpose of the acquisition of the home was to establish the group, what's classified by DCF as a group boarding home. It was our understanding that it would raise the level of essentially being a business because it's no longer occupied by the owner as a residence, but will be occupied by foster children with staff members, other hired people at the location. The feeling was that given the condition of the home, it was an inappropriate thing to support the idea of establishing that activity in that location because even the WABA report had said that even building in the basement, you would still have problems with water in the future that could then develop into environmental conditions within the structure that was not supportive of the idea of establishing facilities that would be children that are wards of the state or that are controlled by the state in placement there. And it was staff position that we would just not believe that was the appropriate thing to do.
Foster?
Thank you, Dave. There's two factors that I'm still considering. One being just what Dave mentioned. I think any motion needs to address the MABCD, look at this and providing recommendations. I think that's mandatory.
The prior motion did address that, Mr. Foster, so we would just be confirming that motion and adding how these golden rules
factor
were applied.
The second item is, I'm not convinced with all this information that this is even the best situation for the youth in terms of improving their condition. And I'm compelled to offer a substitute motion, and that would be to disapprove, especially related to, it's not suitable on it. I think not only the condition of the property, but the testimony we received from the folks in opposition, even though that's not the determining factor. So I would support the staff's original motion to deny and make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a substitute motion by Mr. Foster, a second by Mr. Hartman. Other discussion? Mr. Dool?
Just for my own clarification, a question of staff. We have looked at a number of these group home situations over the past. Have most of these come in as a conditional use request, or have they come in as a zoning request by right?
Dave, I'll take a stab at that, but I mean, until they exceed the family definition where 5 or more unrelated people, then we wouldn't see them. They could go in by right and be operated anywhere that single-family zoning is allowed. The only time this commission would see them is when they exceed the definition of a family and then would either fall into group residence, or if they happen to have residents that meet the definition of the state for disabilities, then they could go as a group home, which is allowed by right, as long as you have 8 or fewer, I believe it is. So you only see the ones that exceed that definition for family.
Might chime in. We've had applications for both. I would say the majority of them are conditional uses in residential zones, but we have had applications to change zoning, particularly to the general office district for group residences.
I'm going to vote against the substitute motion. There were 2 reasons. One has to do with suitability of the property. I think the question, I'm not even sure that it's ours to answer, but to me, the question would be, is it suitable to live in? Whether it's a single-family home or a group home, is the property suitable to live in? And I think that we've addressed that by virtue of having the county authorities that will look at it, take a look at this property and make sure that it's suitable to live in. If it's suitable for a family to live in, then it's suitable for the purpose that we have here. The aspect of whether this is ideal for the kids to be in there, again, that there are agencies that are out there that take a look. What is it that's safe for kids? We're not it. We're not the agency that determines whether or not this is right, for multifamily. We've got group living all over the cities, and whether or not this is the right for them, let the people that are experts in that make that determination. So I will vote against the substitute motion.
Other discussion? If not, we will call for a vote on the substitute motion. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to have a show of raised hands, please. Okay, opposed? Same sign. So the three opposed were Mr. Florence, Mr. Hartman, and.
The
Mr.
three in
No,
favor.
in favor, I'm sorry. Were Mr. Florence, Mr. Hartman, and Mr. Foster.
Everybody else was opposed.
Okay, so we will go back to the original motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Oh, it is. Motion carries 9-3. Thank you. That was intense. All right.
Madam Chairman, if I can.
Yes, sir.
To address where this is a vote to reconsider, well, then we need to schedule this back before the Board of County Commissioners because they will not be meeting the last week of September, and we do not have time to get all the record together to submit back to the board. This is not going to be scheduled to the county commissioners until I think was October 2nd. So this will be on the agenda for the Board of County Commissioners on October 2nd. We'll follow up with a letter to everyone, but I wanted to put that on record for the people that were here.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5.1, DER 2019-00009, Community Investment Plan. Stephen, are you here? Matt? Stephen? You didn't want to hang out in here?
Well, he was checking in and out.
Oh.
Apparently he's checked out.
You better get out. You better get out.
Good to see you, Bill.
Yes, I am.
I'm sitting there looking, I'm going, oh my God, that's good looking art. Yeah, yeah.
Well, kind of.
Sometimes I wonder if I didn't think there'd be a full. This is it.
Good afternoon, Commission. Stephen Banks with Advanced Plans Division. Okay.
All right, you guys, come to order.
This is not the place to discuss.
Listen to Stephen.
Okay. According to Kansas state statute,
Cindy, can I bother?
Yes, Mr. McKay.
Would you mind going through the process now that we went, sent it to the county commission, then send it back to us? What's the process from here forward?
As Dave indicated, it'll go back to the county commission. Now, but the fact that they have sent it back will change the voting minimums. It still, because of the over 20% protest, is going to require 4 out of the 5 to vote to approve, but it can be denied with 3 votes because once it
Simple
gets sent
majority.
back, it's a simple majority.
So will they explain how they use the golden rules and that decision as the county commission?
I mean, typically they do analyze the golden factors on
Okay.
those cases.
Thank you. All right, Stephen. Oh, wait, we got one more
And-
question.
and-
Mr. Green?
And one more question. Will it come back here? This is, whatever they decide, it'll be finished.
It'll be when it goes to the Board of County Commissioners, it'll be for final action on the matter.
Okay. Okay, we ready now?
Are you all ready for Stephen? Okay, thank you.
Okay. According to Kansas state statute, we're supposed to review the comprehensive plan each year. And to that end, we've developed this report to review certain parameters and measure progress of the plan. We do this monitoring report using demographic changes, development activity, city and county CIP improvement programs or capital improvement programs, and national citizen survey results. I'll go ahead and hit some of the highlights of the first section of this, on top of page 5. See, I guess I need this. Oops. On top of page 5, we have the population growth of Wichita, Sedgwick County, and the established central area. And these are performing below the historic average of 0.8% per year, with the exception of the ECA. The dashed lines in the chart show the targets, which were a result of a growth rate of 1.25% per year that was established in the comprehensive plan, with the idea that we need to aim higher to grow more. Falling short of those targets, with the exception of the ECA and downtown development, we would continue to recommend that these projections be revisited, but wait until the 2020 census to actually get some numbers. The ECA, it has been growing actually a little bit better than the targets, except for 2016 and 2017, according to census numbers. But the drop in population that they're showing falls well within the margin of error numbers that they have. So again, it really behooves waiting for the 2020 census to see how that really shakes out. The graph on page 6 shows a graph of new housing units added, which is similar to the population growth, with the targets not being realized, but the ECA does come close. Housing unit creation does parallel population growth to some degree. However, fewer households with children, more people staying single longer, and growth of senior households is putting pressure on units to be built with smaller households. So we continue looking at that data as we get it and modify our formulas for projecting housing demand for the next comp plan effort. Let's see, on page 6, we show commercial development, which has been pretty strong. The very high numbers in 2014 are a result of the Eisenhower Airport. 2018 saw a small decline in square footage built compared to 2017, but it's only 8% below the 5-year average. The number of permits were very close to the 2017 numbers, meaning that we really had the same number of projects, just smaller in size. Growth in employment has been very slow, with the lack of growth in high-tech industries like aviation having an impact on overall employment growth for the region. However, 2018 saw a more significant jump in high-tech employment compared to recent years, and was a major portion in the increase in jobs overall. On the next 3 pages, you have several small graphs that highlight some of the data given in the spreadsheet pages that follow. The National Citizen Survey on page 7, that comes out every 2 years, so the data there is actually the same thing as what we presented last year, with the scores for Wichita trending in a positive direction. Page 8 shows the Wichita 2019 to 2038 capital improvement program and how that matches up with the community investments plan priorities. Water and sewer and stormwater projects are the highest amount of dollars in this CIP, which is a change. It's generally been transportation that was the highest. But the largest number of projects in that category or amount of dollars going in the water, sewer, and stormwater is actually in priority number 2, which is enhancing what we currently have, versus priority 1, which is maintaining and replacing. Page 9 shows Sedgwick County infrastructure indicators. Those basically revolve around roads and bridges, with the county keeping pace with its road maintenance targets and resolving bridge issues. A couple of things in the spreadsheets that we added this year. On page 11, we decided to show the Bureau of Labor Statistics unemployment level, which is what you normally hear in the media. And it's a lower number than is being reported in the census, because the census basically takes the response of the survey participant. Are you unemployed? Well, BLS only counts you unemployed if you are actually looking for work, whereas the American Community Survey, you may say you're unemployed, but you're not looking for work. Then on page 16, we did finally get the design drought water supply added to the statistics. Those who were on the advanced plans when we presented this to you, we did not have that data as yet, but that will bring us full square with all of the reporting that we're trying to get from Public Works. Any questions?
Questions from the commission? Now's your chance. I don't know, you can ask him that question.
Do they have a study on selective spending, like the trend of selective spending in Wichita, like how spending just rotates around instead of like having new growth, like more population, more jobs, like I'm going to use the baseball field or certain sections, all it does is take spending from one area and put it in another. Is there?
We really don't have data on that. The data that we got in terms of employment and the sales tax and all those things that we look at are basically mostly countywide data. We would have to actually request a database on employment by company, and we have done that in the past. We may need to look at doing that again when we do the comprehensive plan to get a better idea how things are distributed currently, because the last time we did that was in 2008.
Other questions by the commission? Mr. Foster?
When was the K-96 plan approved or put into effect? K-96 special use corridor?
Oh, boy. It was before we started the effort on the comprehensive plan update, which was about 2012 when we started that.
That's what I wanted to confirm.
We'd have to, you're talking about the corridor protection overlay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to confirm.
We'd have to research that.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's prior to 2010, but my memory's a little fuzzy back that far.
It was discussed as part of the comprehensive plan update that was done and adopted in 2015. And in fact, there are differing recommendations regarding priority for that piece of infrastructure as it relates to the city and the county, with the county placing higher priority than the city on that.
One other question, Stephen, is you mentioned that some of those benchmarks ought to be looked at. What kind of timetable, when do you think those should be looked at?
You talking about population and
That
the
was
projections?
one of them,
Yeah. I would say let's wait till we get the 2020 census numbers, which we will actually probably start getting in 2021. we'll have population by block and block group and census tract where we can really delve much deeper into what has actually happened.
And I think, Dave, when we created this plan, you know, we knew that these numbers were a stretch.
Yeah.
I barely remember it, but I remember it.
And one of the problems with the data that we get from the American Community Survey, even though we try to use the 5-year data, they're only sending out so many surveys at a time, and what you get in one census block group or census tract 1 year may be very low, and the next year they may have more returned, and so that's why the margin of error gets so high, and sometimes you wonder, do you want to believe this data? So that's why we're saying let's wait.
Any other questions? Thank you, Stephen.
All right?
Maybe we take the recommended action?
Oh.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. So we have thank you, Mr. Green. We have a motion by Mr. Green, a second by Mr. Richardson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 11-0. Anything else you all want to discuss today? All right, if not, we adjourn.